Good morning. Really excited to be here today representing American Airlines in this initiative, and really just want to speak highly of our partnership with Verifly. We know that as many of you have learned, this pandemic has driven a need for a very different environment in our operations at the airlines. And so what I wanted to do is, and John and the Daon team were kind enough to give me a few minutes of their time on this panel to talk about why we ended up choosing the Verifly product and how we needed a digital health passport. So to kick this off, I'm going to go back to about July or August of last year when we started ramping back up in the international space. Particularly at our key hubs, we noticed that our check-in times were increasing exponentially. The challenge that we were faced with was team members on our front lines were having to turn into doctors and lawyers and nurses to figure out all this medical documentation for every different country. The requirements, while similar, do differ. If you go to Jamaica, you need a 10-day test that can be an antigen or a PCR. If you go to Chile, it's 72 hours and it must be a PCR. And then you must be retested upon arrival, and you have to provide health insurance forms and a travel visa. And so the requirements are so different that it posed a really big challenge for our frontline team members to process the documentation and make sure that customers were ready to travel. Not only that, it was also confusing for the customer. Depending on the country of destination, they had to go to multiple websites to fill out information. In some cases, they had to print paper documents or receive an email or get a QR code. It was just very different for them. And so we saw the need to have a digital health passport in our operation. So we spoke with all of the digital health passports, and ultimately we found a great partner in Verifly. And a few of the reasons for that is, one, we were able to co-create this application. The Daon team was really excellent and spent almost a week in our Miami operation talking with our team members, talking with our leaders, understanding what the challenges were so that they could develop a solution that really met the needs that we had immediately there in our operation. We have just expanded upon that since that time. When we first started talking in early October, we set an aggressive goal to have an application launched in the American operation before Thanksgiving. And we were able to successfully do that on a trial basis between Miami and Montego Bay and Kingston. We have since expanded that to cover 10 countries and over 225 markets. Most notably, of course, as all of you are aware, the inbound to international requirement was a big shift for us and required a lot of work. And we were able to successfully implement the Verifly product in those markets as well, which has really been a big help, particularly in Latin America, where we see quite a bit of travel demand. And so we're really proud of the efforts that have gotten us to this point, and also happy to see other carriers join this ecosystem, and appreciative of the partnership that we have with Verifly to provide the solution not only to our customers, but to our team members as well, so that everyone in the airport environment can get through that check-in process quickly and know that they're ready to travel and will be permitted entry into the country of arrival. So with that, I'll kick it over to my partner, John Sanders with the Daon team.
Thanks a lot, Preston. I appreciate that. And can we go to the next slide, please? So I think Stacy did a great job in her opening comments with regards to, she highlighted several things, and really the points that she made with regards to confidence, trust, open standards, interoperability, and privacy is what is contained on this slide. And so those are key operating principles that we are working to, and we've tried to build into the Verifly platform. Next slide, please. If you could just hit it again. Thank you. Preston talked about where the Verifly application is available in 10 markets. And what I should say is I love to tease people that I work with, and Preston in particular. People have asked me what keeps me up at night, and to them I respond, Preston keeps me up at night, or Chris McLaughlin, who's going to be on one of the panels here later on. But it's been a wonderful relationship with them in terms of we've been able to learn lessons together and iterate in a very fast process. So there are things that we did at the beginning that worked well, and there were things that did not work so well at the beginning. And so a key part of what we're trying to do with American and all of our partners is how do you take that feedback and very quickly put it into the product and make the best travel experience possible. Going back to what Stacy said, when I think about what's happened over the last year with regards to travel, the number one adjective that I would apply that I think travelers are looking for is control. Control at the end of the day will give them, if they have control over their journey or they feel like they have more control in their life, it will instill confidence, they'll feel empowered. And I think that's what's necessary to start making the travel ecosystem, the broader travel ecosystem, getting people out there, going to destination and feeling comfortable. Next slide, please. So this is a quick overview. If you haven't downloaded the app, you can go get it. It's available from both the Apple and the Google app stores. It's a fairly simple 3-step process. I should say that what you're seeing here are screenshots from a new UI UX that will be coming out on the 19th. So it's a little pre-showing before it's actually out in the app. If you were to look at the app today, you wouldn't see the exact screens. One of the things I will say from Daon's perspective is Daon has traditionally been a B2B business. We do a lot in the financial services sectors. And what we found as we've gotten into the travel market is that we have to do more from a B2C perspective. And I don't want to let Preston off the hook and think that he can just talk at the beginning and not talk more. And so in this context, I want to give American credit and the other airlines in airports that we're working with that are providing feedback to make it a better user experience. But Preston, I thought it would be a good opportunity for you to talk about some of the feedback you're hearing from most importantly, your team members as well as the customers that are using the app.
Yeah, I just also wanted to comment. I find it a little bit funny that we have to always talk about, well, this might not be entirely accurate because we're changing things so frequently, which is great. That's the whole purpose of this. And so we add countries, or there's a change in a requirement to a particular country that we're just really having to stay on top of. So it's a very dynamic environment. The feedback we get, we were very focused on our team member experience in the airport, given the complexity of going through these documents. And so initially, that feedback has been very positive from our team members. They're telling us that it's a consistent way for them to know, at least for the 10 countries where users can use the Verifly application. It's just a consistent way for them to know that the customers completed their requirements. They see the green check mark, and they know they don't have to sift through the tests and the health insurance forms, et cetera, to know the customer is ready. The other thing we're hearing from customers is the peace of mind that they have knowing that they're going to be able to get on a flight today because they have the green check mark, their COVID test has been reviewed, and they know that this process is ready. And they don't have to show up to the airport and go through the process of getting their docs checked and maybe not traveling because they took the wrong test or haven't completed a requirement. What I will say to this is we often look at metrics such as, okay, well, this many customers have used Verify. We also track how many customers' tests have been rejected or their application has been rejected, because that tells us those customers are able to fix those challenges, those issues before they get to the airport, which allows them to travel. And that's a really important thing that we're tracking in American Airlines, is the success rate that we're having of customers getting their challenges worked out before arriving at the airport. So it's a really good point to bring up that we are constantly looking at the feedback we get from both customers and team members.
And the other thing I would just add on this slide with regards to the COVID test reviews, one of the things we made a decision with regards to as a company is we were going to invest in a solution that would be inclusive of everyone. And what that means to us is we wanted to provide an opportunity for those, because there are so many labs out there, and integration with those labs is key to our technology roadmap and where we're planning to go. But to ensure that it is inclusive, we wanted to have the capability where anybody could upload a test result, and we would have humans and technology on the back end that could look at those test reviews or look at those test results and then help ensure that they have a good experience. The other thing I will point out is from a lot of questions we get from different airlines and other travel related companies that we're talking to is, what is your authoritative source with regards to the rules for a particular country? By and large, that authoritative source is Timatic from IATA. But we also work very closely with our partners. And you can imagine, certainly in the example of the partnership with American Airlines, they have a number of people in country. Those in-country individuals often hear about changes that are coming. As we all know, this is a very fluid, evolving environment. And so we take that information and include it into our rules engine, sometimes in advance of it coming from Timatic. But at the end of the day, Timatic is the source that we rely on to approve and give the green check mark. Next slide, please. And here you have a fast pass, what it looks like in the application. This is what the check-in agent would see for the airline. I will point out, I think the key thing to point out here is, although this is a fast pass, we are talking to American and other airlines about integration with their check-in systems. We can also do QR codes or NFC readers. So it's not limited to a fast pass, but to the point that Preston made at the beginning of this, we were moving very quickly. The MVP from time we started talking to American and when we rolled out that MVP was 31 days. And so this was the quickest way to get something out there fast and then help improve the process from a customer perspective. The other thing I wanted to highlight with regards to this is, as we've rolled out with more airlines, and I'll let Preston comment on this in a second, is both American and British have dedicated check-in lanes if people use this process before they go to the airport. And one of the key reasons for that is you want the travelers to have a peace of mind before they leave to go to the airport. But when they get to the airport, you also want them to have the best possible experience, because the better the experience, the more people will start to travel. And Preston, over to you if you want to add anything about the check-in lanes and signage.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have implemented an expedited check-in lane at Miami International Airport and are looking to do the same very soon in Cancun. So we will do that based on the local demand in a given airport. Another question that seems to be popping up a lot here in the Q&A, and I want to address this, is this question about authenticity of particularly COVID test results. And the key comment to that we've talked about with our airline partners is there is a difference between validity of a test and the verification of those results. And what I mean by that is it's the airline's responsibility to verify that a customer has completed the requirements. It's nearly impossible to ensure that every document is valid in the sense that it was sourced from an accredited lab, or that it wasn't forged or purchased online, or whatever the case may be. So that is certainly a challenge that we're all aware of. What I would say is the process that we're using with Verifly is an improvement to the airport process. And if you think about it from the perspective of an airline team member, if they're having to check documents ranging from 35 to 40 countries, that's a really big challenge for them. And so what we're doing is taking that work out of the airport and sending it to the Verifly team for check. Now, having said all of that, we have yet to have a single passenger denied entry into a country that has used the Verifly application. So those results are incredibly positive for us. That's not only a big stress off of the customer, but also off of the airline to avoid fines, sending the customer back on a flight, et cetera. So we're really, really proud of those results.
Next slide, please. And then just finally, wanted to highlight, as Preston said, this is available in over 200 markets currently right now. And we're in active discussions with both airlines, a number of airlines, as well as other organizations within the broader travel ecosystem, to include cruise lines, hotels, conferences, and other areas or other organizations whereby this health passport could be more broadly applicable and make the experience for customers overall better. And with that, Preston, any final comments you want to make at the end?
I did see a question in the Q&A about any challenges with implementation. And I would say the best thing about working with the Daon team has been we were both willing to start small and learn from the initial launches. And so it was really key for us to just start those 2 markets between Miami to Jamaica and then grow from there. So we're really thrilled about this overall. We're seeing really great results, particularly since the inbound to the United States requirement was added. We've seen really positive usage. And the last comment I'll make is this is just another layer to our overall approach of helping customers be ready to travel during this pandemic. It is not mandatory for customers to use. We don't intend it to be mandatory, simply an easier way for customers to get ready for travel. But we're excited to continue to partner with Daon and others on this initiative.
Great, thanks, John. Thanks, Preston. So there were several questions, which if after the presentation, you guys can go and type your answers, that would be great. I think you have about 10 or so. And then for the participants, keep those questions coming on the Q&A chat window there. But on your presentation, I think it's incredible that you guys were able to test this out on a route before Thanksgiving. And John, you mentioned putting more control in the passengers' hands, which I couldn't agree more. I think if there's anything that we're going to get out of this pandemic is that in itself is control, and hopefully a more seamless and better customer journey. But thank you guys. I really appreciate it.